So, welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast, man. This is your boy Terry. This is episode 5 of Let's Spin the Block one more time. Listen, man, I've taken you guys through a plethora of stories and things that, half of the stuff that I've been through, I didn't even discuss, right? But I'm going to get into, because in the first 4 episodes, I was telling you the bad parts and bad things that happened to me. I'll tell you that everything that's happened in my life hasn't always been bad, right? I've had some tumultuous stories to tell. I've been through some crazy things. I was telling a friend of mine the other night, I've been trapped in the closet. I've been, under the table. I've done some of the craziest stuff. But I will say this, that there are some aspects of your life where you look back on it and you go, this wasn't all bad, and it was truly all my fault. Now, episode 5, this is going to introduce Strawberry. This is my second spouse. Now, I've mentioned Strawberry in the last couple of episodes, and we were talking about Shirley and what she did and the bad things she did. But Strawberry, I got to tell you, Strawberry was a light in my life at the time that I needed it. When I say that this woman did absolutely nothing to me to deserve what she got, is an understatement. And it's life. I mean, as men, we make those mistakes and we take for granted the gifts that God gives us, and we make a mockery of it, or we get to the point where, oh, she ain't going nowhere. That was my thinking. My thinking was, oh, she ain't going nowhere. She's going to be here forever. Not the case. And I found out the hard way. Strawberry was one of those people, you wish you could have a do-over. It's one of the things you wish you could have a do-over. And there's not a person that's listening to this who does not have a person in their life that they say, I wish I had a do-over. I wish I could do that again. I wish I could have made a left turn in Albuquerque instead of a right. And, would things be different? It's one of those shoulda, woulda, couldas type situations in life. And you move on from it. You can't let it dictate you. You can't let it control you. Because I made buku mistakes with Strawberry, and starting with Shirley, because of like I said in episode 4, because of my unwillingness to let Shirley go. I hurt her. Right? I hurt her tremendously, and that wasn't the biggest hurt that I caused. I caused a lot of hurt, and one of the hurts that I have to do, one of the things as a man that we have to do is to learn how to take accountability for the mistakes and the bad choices. And when I tell you I made some bad ones, and I keep saying that because I keep reiterating that, because when I get through telling you this story, you can be like, Terry, man, you messed up big time. One of the biggest stories, outside of, me leaving Strawberry in Chicago, and, me, coming down to North Carolina, and her, having her follow me, and, all this stuff, let Shirley go, and just taking her through a whole bunch of stuff. Fatal Friday, if you got to listen to episode 2, I think, to get that one. Just a whole bunch of stuff. But this is where life gets tricky. And like I said, this is my second marriage. And, we were trying. I mean, I guess, so for me, it wasn't more or less trying. I think I just kind of, because I did not know. And here's the point, that I did not know how to be a man. See, a lot of times men think because they're 21 or 22, they think that they're men. That's not the truth. There's an amount of work that has to be done before you can consider yourself a man. And it took me years to walk out this man process. And I'm 50, and I still struggle in a lot of areas. But, when I tell you that I had zero experience of being a man when I was married to this woman, and like I said, she didn't do anything to me. She did She did everything she did everything possible to make me happy. She would she would shut down an argument by giving me whatever I wanted just because she didn't want to hear me argue. You know what I'm saying? And it was that kind of a party. So I manipulated that and equated that to love. That wasn't love. That was a level of submission that she did to keep the noise down. But what I learned later on, that every time she did that, it tore down whatever she had. Okay, so let me tell you, let me get to this story. It was pretty bad between us, and we're not talking about physically between us. We're talking about, financially, because I wasn't handling my business as a man. I wasn't paying the bills. I was doing this. I was going to the church for money. You know, I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. And so the church that we went to, and I'm not naming the church because it's somebody listen and might remember, but that's not the, um, what I would do was not pay a bill, you know, something as important as like the light bill or even the rent for that matter. I don't know, my phone on D&D because my notifications want to go off on trying to record. Anyways, so I would go to the church every Sunday. I would go without paying a bill. Church to pay for it. Church to pay for it. I'll go to the church. I'll go to the pastor. Be like, hey, I need a couple $100, pay rent, whatever, whatever. And so my pastor, I won't name him either, but he was a cool dude for a minute. And he was like, okay, brother, you're not handling your business. You need to take care of that. So uh, I go to the church. And so I burnt the bridge with the church. So I couldn't get any more money from that. So we were struggling. Financially, we were struggling. And so we ended up getting evicted from the home. No, actually, we moved from the home that we lived in my hometown. And we moved to Charlotte, moved to the city, had a little house. I did, I, like I said, I could tell you stories. I did dumb shit. I did dumb shit. Like we finally got a car, you know, and we had a nice running van, a silver Mercury Villager. Great, great vehicle. No, was it Villager? I think it was. But anyway, it was a great running car. It was at one of those buy here, pay here places, right? And so if anybody who's listening to this and know anything about a buy here, pay here, they put some kind of device on your vehicle. So they'll make you a payment. The computer automatically cuts you off. And so that's what, our first vehicle was. We had a little box, on it, and your payment was due by a certain day, right? And if you didn't pay it, you had 2 days. And so after those 2 days, after midnight hit, if you made your payment, wherever that car was, that's where it stayed because it wasn't going to crank. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like one of those. And so we got into a lot of arguments about that. And so what I did one day is I went over to the dealership and took the good running car and traded it in for a updated model. It was a Ford Windstar. If you guys know anything about minivan, I got that thing on Ford Windstar, bring it back to the house. I got it on a Friday. It broke down on Monday. The transmission went out on a Monday. Just stupid stuff. That's stupid. Shit is stupid. When you think about it, like, yeah, you made some dumb mistakes, bro. But so I did that. So I just made all kind of financial mistakes, man, and bad choices. And so we ended up moving to the city, and we lived in a house in a nice housing development in a cul-de-sac. Our landlord was a guy that I worked with at Wachovia. And, you know, I think we lived in that house for a couple of months, and we didn't have any gas. So we didn't have hot nothing. We didn't have hot water. We didn't have nothing. And so, because I wouldn't pay the bill. I wouldn't pay the bill. I was just that uh, lazy. I didn't pay the bill. So we finally got the gas cut on. We got evicted the next week. So it was pointless. Get the gas cut on. So we actually moved out of the house before the eviction came. Moving to another house up across town, maybe. Nice house, nice 2-story house. And we stayed in that house for a month. that house didn't stay. We got evicted from that house. Didn't pay the rent. Think the month that we moved into the house, my mom died. This is in '07. My mom died in '07, so it was just a terrible month. Got evicted. My mom died. It was just bad. So if you've never been a part of an eviction, that is the scariest because the sheriff's deputies come to your house and they tell you you have an hour to get all your stuff. And so happened my best friend lived across the street. And my best friend, I won't name him because if anybody know me, know him. You know, right? So we're not gonna name him. So he lived across the street and he had a nice, big old house and he had a couple, he had some kids and he had a enclosed garage. And so I called him up and I was like, hey man, we can evict that. You know, he gave me the run. He gave me the 411 and was like, yo, bro, I don't know why you ain't handling your business, man. Why you not handling your business? Why you not doing what you're supposed to do? I went through all that. You know how many times I got that not handling your business speech in that portion of my life? I didn't care to hear it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Either you're going to help me or you ain't, right? And so we were getting evicted and we ended up moving in with him in his enclosed garage. Now, mind you, he's married. He's got he's got 4 kids in the house, and they all lived upstairs, and we lived in an enclosed garage. And he had another house guest who lived with him. That was Rick, and Rick was. It's a lot of words to describe Rick. Rick was stuck though. He was homeless. He was staying with Sharon. My bad. He was staying with my best friend, and so we toughed it out. Now, my best friend started his own ministry, and I was his armor bearer. So I was deep in the church. I was with him, you know what I'm saying? Wherever he went, I went, if he had meetings, no. Uh, but not to drag the story out, but this is what happened. He started the ministry, and there was a young lady that went to the same, he shared a space with another pastor. The pastor did the morning services at his building, and then my best friend did his services in the afternoon at the same building. So this young lady decided to leave the first pastor's church and join my best friend's ministry. Now, uh, I was I was smitten. I'm not even gonna lie. I was smitten, and but she was a friend. She was a friend of the church. She was a friend of the family. We all hung together, ate together, prayed together, all that. The mistake that I made, I wouldn't even say mistake. The bad choice that I made was I got too close to the young lady, way too close to become her. And I ended up, in a long story short, I ended up cheating on my wife, who's done absolutely nothing to me, with this young lady, who was my wife's friend, was Strawberry's friend, you know, and they ran together, they ran errands together, whatever. I mean, they weren't that close, but they were close enough to where we all shared the same space. And I ended up cheating on her with this young lady. And when I tell you, if you guys don't believe that karma's a bitch, big time. Because at the time I was unemployed and I could not find a job. I could not. And as long as I was doing whatever I was doing with the other young lady, nothing came to fruition. Nothing. And so there's a cautionary tale in this. I guarantee you at the end of it, it's a cautionary tale. But we kept, and this is how Strawberry found out. Okay. This is the time of where cell phones was just hitting the scene, right? And we had one cell phone that we shared between the two of us, right? And so again, we're struggling financially. She's working third shift, and it was a mess. It got to the point where it was a mess. So this one particular evening, I had fell asleep, took a nap, you know, and I had woken up the hard way, with a smack, or I can't remember what she did exactly, with a smack, or she shoved me real hard out of my sleep, and she was like, but I really believe that she already had an inkling that something was going on, but just did not say anything. To the point where we had gotten so bad in financial straits that we actually went to her as she was married. We went to her and her husband and stayed with them. I think we stayed with them. Or, I can't remember exactly. But the husband didn't know that I was living with his wife. Strawberry didn't know that I was living with her, but they both found out at the same time. It was just really, really weird. It was dangerous, you know, really weird. So just one particular day, like I said, I took a nap and she woke me up vigorously and was like, "Hey, you need to wake up. What's going on between you and so and so?" I'm not gonna give her that because y'all might know her. But what's going on between you and so and so? I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" The text messages say, telling you she love you and all this other good stuff. And that is when she found out. Well, I can't even to this day, I can't even imagine the pain that she felt that day to find out that her husband, was sleeping with someone that we ran with in the same circles. And hurtful, very, very hurtful. And she took her power back at that point because she had lived so long trying to make me happy that she forgot who she was. In this particular instance, she was like, "I'm done. Oh, sir, you are not going to do this to me." And she decided that she was out. And I begged, and I pleaded, and I said, "God, please, I made a mistake, da 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 da." And that was the worst. That was the worst. That was the worst. And I begged that woman, "Oh my goodness. You you think Keith Sweat begged a little bit?" Man, Keith Sweat didn't have nothing on me. I was begging, but it to no avail. So she ended up saying, "Wow." And she packed up her stuff. Just another word to me. She packed up her stuff, packed the house up. The kids were already gone. No, that is, her two big kids were already gone to Chicago to visit their dad. This is a summer trip. And so this is in 2009. This is a couple of years after it went downhill fast. It wasn't even, wasn't long drawn out. It went downhill fast. And so the kids were already gone to visit their dad. And so she only had her youngest daughter with her. And so she packed up the house, picked up all her stuff, and I watched her drive away, you know, after, 7 years. At this point, it was 7 years, 6 years of marriage at this point. And she drove away. Well, and there's nothing in this life is more debilitating to watch someone that you know you love drive away or walk away from you. It's one thing to know they're walking away. It's another thing to watch them do it. And it was tough. But at the same time, I couldn't blame myself. Now, here's the cautionary tale. The cautionary tale is this. If you have something or someone in your life that's important and you know that they are uh, important and need to be cherished and all that, and you know that, let's preserve it. Because when I tell you I did it, and I hope she listens to this at some point. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. But you can't take none of that shit back. None of it. No matter how much you beg and plead, no matter how many times you say, it'll never happen again. You can't take none of that shit back because I had this one day I woke up and I had to think about, it wasn't just that. It was years before the stuff that I did that chipped away the love for me. It wasn't just, that was just a straw. But I'm telling you, fellas, listen to me, man. Just because one thing happened doesn't mean, and she walks away, doesn't mean it was that one thing that made her walk away. Trust me, when a woman walks away, there's a reason. When she walks away, it's because you already torn her down. That's exactly what happened to me. When I tell you the entire 6 years that I was with her in matrimony, there was always something that I was doing that was, and she took it on the chin. When I tell you she took it on the chin, and there was a lot of times she didn't say jack. She was just like, "You know what? Okay, okay." And anytime a woman say, "Oh, okay," It's never good, player. It's never good. So let's be mindful, man. We are in a different society now to where it's not that easy. You already know you can't take shit back, right? These women are already in this, they're already in this mindset of, I don't need you, bro. I want you. I want you. I don't need you. And that's what Strawberry did. She said, I love you to death, but I'm not going to take this. And I've talked to many of women. One of my best friends down in Louisiana right now. I, I love you. I'm not. I'm not going to do this with you. I've been through X amount of number of years of feeling this way, and you've done nothing but chip away whatever love that I had left. You deploy at it. We talking about Fred Flintstone, you know, signature chipping away and stuff, and we have to at some point stop and take accountability for what we do. We did, we said, we got to take accountability for it, because just because you say I'm sorry don't make it better. It don't. It really, really don't. And you're gonna end up like I did, looking stupid and wondering and begging and pleading. And I went into a whole, after she left, this is in episode 6. After she left, the depression that I went through, and then I had the nerve to blame other people. Like, who's to blame here? I can't blame the next person because I screwed up. You know what I'm saying? Now I went to a place of drinking and all that good stuff, but we'll get into that in episode 6. But listen, when I tell you there's a lot of bright spots in my life. Let's be clear there. A lot of bright spots. There are a lot of people who have been great to me. I've met a lot of wonderful women that have been great to me. But when I tell you that one, Strawberry, that one, never done anything bad to me, never lied to me, never cussed me out, never did any of that, and took everything I did to her on the chin, the cheating, the flirting, the lack of financial stability, all of that. She took all of that on the chin, and because she loved me so much, she took it. But that final straw was like, I'm it. Fellas, I'm telling you, if you don't think there's a final straw, I promise you it is. I promise you it's a final straw. And if you ain't ready, it's going to jack you all the way up, players. I'm telling you it's going to jack you all the way up. So if you enjoyed episode 5, man, listen, you can follow this podcast on Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.podbean.com. You can listen on Spotify, YouTube. I'll put some clips on TikTok and Facebook, but you can follow this podcast on those particular platforms. Check me out. If you have any questions, any topics when we talk about on the podcast, you can email me at Knucklehead Chronicles podcast@gmail.com. And until next time, man, I want to see you guys down the line.
Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't fry your brain too bad. Come back through and give me another chance. You can listen on all platforms and visit us at Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.podbean.com. Until next time, in the words of the incomparable